Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
I'm back out at Giga Texas. It's a beautiful day to fly. It's the beginning of the week and we're coming off of Easter weekend. So there was some progress as far as construction, but not a lot. Movement of vehicles out of the outbound lot was extensive. And as you'll see in the video, we just don't see very many vehicles over there today, although production is starting to gear back up. Now, a couple of things that I want to talk about in the intro before we get into the video. First off, I am seeing more of the long-range rear-wheel drive Cybertrucks, and here's a few images of some on both sides of the highway today. People ask me, how do I know? The biggest indicator is that there's no tonneau cover, there's no underfloor cubby hole in the bed of the truck. That's missing. The lighting is different. The L-tracks are missing along the sides of the interior of the bed, and also the trunk release is a small square on that upper left-hand sail versus more rectangular, because in the regular Cybertruck with the hard tonneau cover you have the power controls to make it work. So those are some of the ways that I can tell from the drone perspective, and I can get in close and take a look.
Another interesting development was these castings on the east side of the casting machine structure. These are unlike the Model Ys or the Cybertruck castings. They're a lot flatter and smaller. Also, as we can zoom in, it has the RTTX050. I believe that stands for Robotaxi Texas. And on the ground here, you can see more of them and what they kind of look like when they're in the untrimmed format. So again, this is very exciting. We may be seeing the first castings for the Cybercab.
A couple other things that I do want to talk about here in the intro. First, tomorrow is a big event here for Tesla. It's the first quarter financial results meeting. In addition to that, they're also going to be doing a company update. I know there's a lot of people very interested in this. This is the first time they've done this, at least in my memory. And we may find out about new products, maybe some direction of the company. Maybe we'll hear about the robo-taxi fleet and the unveiling here in Austin coming up in June. Perhaps we'll find out more about the 4680s and what's going on with them. Maybe some of the production rates that are going on, maybe changes within the factory, maybe what's going on with Optimus. Don't really know. There's a lot of speculation, but I'm looking forward to seeing that. And just a reminder, it will be here tomorrow, Tuesday, the 22nd of April, starting at 6:30 Central Time. And it's going to be joined in with that financial results meeting. So you can get that link from Tesla Investor Relations and you can listen in. The last thing that I want to talk about in the intro, just a reminder that I'm going to be heading down to Florida. The Tesla Florida Owners Club is putting on Tesla Space Jam at Kennedy Space Center. There's going to be a lot of events, a lot of activities to participate in on the 26th and the 27th. I'm going to be heading out about midweek, going to be doing some pre-events. So this is my last Giga Texas flight for about a week. So you won't get any more from me this week coming up. So we got a good view of what's going on today, and hopefully that with what Brad Sloan is doing and maybe a few other drone pilots will be able to keep up with what's going on. So without further ado, that's a kind of a quick update of what's going on here at Giga Texas, what's going on with Tesla and my upcoming schedule. So let's get in the drone, let's fly around and see what Giga Texas looks like on this beautiful Monday.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Good morning from a beautiful day here at Giga Texas. We're starting off on the southeast side, and we're taking a look at the kind of bottom middle of the screen of the workshops and the setup for the glass company. There's some crated glass on the trailers. Looks like they're also unpacking some other items at the bottom of the screen. You can also see that the intersection here with Robotic Avenue and River Road still has being worked on, and it has not made much progress in the last few months. The privacy fence at the bottom of the parking garage is still there, along with the curtains on the 6th floor, but not a lot of activity on the roof. Now, in this material staging yard, it looks like we're getting more and more materials being deposited here. Some of those steel pipes, also some steel items. So that is being used again for some level of construction, potentially inside the south end extension. Not a lot of activity on this testing calibration lot at the bottom right of the screen with those 2 tents for the charging system. But I did notice as I was turning back that there was one vehicle on the parking garage, and I'll bring down the drone a little closer. You can see what it looks like. Really hard to tell if it's doing anything at all other than just sort of sitting on the roof for the moment. I did also notice there were some changes on the east side of stamping. So I'll bring the drone in and position the drone towards that platform, and we'll zoom in and just take a look at what's going on. It appears like some trailers have brought some items for movement up onto that platform. We know on the inside there, they've been doing a lot of work preparing for additional production capabilities. Next to this tower, the small workshop that we saw with the plastic wrap around it has been dismantled and has moved away. There are some very large deliveries happening with the blue and red truck going into stamping. And we can see some other items on the ground that have been partially unpacked. This is a great view with lighting at the cooling plant. We can tell that the earthwork has continued. They have a small ramp next to that bus that just went by, and they are continuing to grade out this area. I don't know if they're going to be putting concrete or what, but it's definitely something I continue to monitor. 4 of the fans are in operation today, and as we look through the kind of mist coming up out of the fan units, we can see this new temporary platform and how this side of the factory looks. And we should start seeing some equipment being delivered inside that area soon. I'm going to maneuver the drone around to the south end. This is a nice view across the entire factory over to the outbound lot and the end of line in the upper left of the screen, and also the cyber pond and that 3-level section at the south end of the glass wall. I'm going to kind of bring the drone straight down over the power lines and into this section of the site. I wanted to show you the conduit that's running along River Road on the middle left of the screen. They've got most of the concrete now encasing the conduit, some of the concrete vaults with the manhole access points, and this is where they are preparing to start filling in all of those trenches. Now this runs all along the River Road over towards where the fork in the road is located, and it starts taking an angle over towards that fork. And here's some of that conduit still getting a little bit of the concrete, getting ready for the trench work to be filled back in. It may be also extending it over to the road and then under the road to where that caisson is. But I've also been told by people that work at the factory that they are putting in some sort of lighting system around the fork. So that'll be something that I'm watching as well. And this is basically what that part of the site looks like today. Now I'm going to maneuver back towards the factory, bring the drone up to a higher altitude because I wanted to show you some of the activity on the roof, specifically over where the solar panels are being added in. Now that's directly ahead coming into the center of the screen, and we see the 2 rows of or at least a single large row of the solar panels being added at the bottom of the A of Tesla and extending farther to the north, now getting very close to the next letter. And here are some of the crews actively installing the solar panels onto the Unirack mounts. They've also got some of the wiring, it appears, laid out so that when they put the panels in, they can connect them all up. And you can tell how far this runs towards the north. I think this is going to continue all the way up to the north, at least on this side of the solar panels. And I will show you some additional activity on the roof a little later in the video where more solar panels are being prepared for installation. So while I come back over to the west side, over the roof, I'll look down at where the Model Ys exit the factory with that black ramp and that turn only kind of indication on the ground. At the moment in time that I was flying here, I did not see the Model Ys exiting, but I did see new Model Ys moving around the site today, along with Cybertrucks. We also see that at the base of the flagpole, the work that was going on with some of the trenching and excavation has been completed. We saw them rolling out some mats so they can put that gravel mix back on top, kind of in that lighter color section. So that appears to be mostly completed. So I'm going to fly to the south and we'll take a look at some of the activity on the southwest side of the factory. Point out next to the bus, you see that external bathroom facility that we just passed over. I think that indicates that they are continuing having some issues with the treated water or the sewer water inside the factory, and that's why all that work is being done on the berm along the west side, and I'll show you some additional views of that here momentarily. Crews continue to prepare, put the glass in for this new kind of trim and glass line meeting point. And as we bring the drone down lower, looking through this drive path, we can tell that crew is working on this black wall, installing what appears to be at least a light fixture. I'm not sure if we're going to see any letters there or if it's just going to be lit, but it'll be something I continue to monitor. I also noticed another grouping of Cybertrucks here in this parking lot. One of the Cybertrucks did not appear to have a tonneau cover, so I wanted to come in and look at it closely and see if this was another long-range rear-wheel drive or not. I think it's actually a regular all-wheel drive because you can see that cubby hole in the bottom of the tailgate, or at least the bed, and with that it would indicate that this is not a long-range model, long-range Cybertruck, but we will see some of the long ranges over on the other side of the highway, kind of similar to what we saw on my previous video. Now we passed over some black pipes along this berm that's running all the way to the north end, and it's all being installed, and I think that's related to those external bathrooms that we just talked about. Passing over the caisson, we can see some more of the trench work that goes under the road over to this section, and the trench box is in place, and some of the crews are doing some work inside that trench box right now, possibly doing some preparation for installation of those steel corrugated pipes that you see nearby. So I'm going to bring the drone up to a higher altitude, point back to the factory, and we'll get ready to go across the highway and we'll resume on the other side. More of the concrete pipe segments are waiting their turn to be lowered into this caisson by the crane, and then using those hydraulic rams to keep pushing those into the tunnel boring bore that is continuing to the south underneath Colorado River. You can see where some of the spoils bins are located at the bottom of the screen, and that activity to take the dirt out of the tunnels and prepare that to be moved over to the far west side for temporary storage. So we get over to the Cyber Tunnel. I did see a couple of Cybertrucks coming out through these today while I was flying, but not at the moment in time that I flew the drone over here at this instant for the video. But the early part of the day is just getting the production rates coming back up over the long weekend, especially with the Easter weekend. So production is kind of at a slow point at this instant of time as I'm flying here today on Monday. Also, we do note that the outbound lot is almost completely empty. The zoom in here just shows you some of the vehicles that are starting to accumulate again this week, but they do a lot of the transport operations over the weekend. And if you compare this back to my Friday video, you can see that there's a significantly less number of vehicles than we saw just on Friday. We can also tell that Cybertruck just got delivered here to this part of the outbound lot. And of course, they're getting ready for the transport operations to resume throughout the day as well. I think that the number of production outweighs the transport capability per day, and that's why we see an accumulation over the week, and then they use the weekend to finish up all the transports. While I am here, I'm going to come back over to this material staging yard and just take a look at some of the production equipment that is still being stockpiled over here. The brown wrapped items are, I think, another stamping press, and we see some other pipe segments here on the ground. Looking across and through all of the birds, because it is migration season, see those transformers and a lot of the steel items still remaining. And here in this material staging yard, we see more of the production equipment, most of which in the blue and white wrapping is for the 4680s. But we do see a lot other items in these wooden crates and some of these silver wrapped items here on the north end. The number of transformers here doesn't seem like it's changed in the last week or two. The last time I saw them moving, they were moving them off-site and not using them here on the Giga Texas property. So it'll be something I'll continue to watch along with those other transformers at the far south end. You can look along the berm and the tree line where the houses are. We can see the fence is completely installed now, and that's a good security measure for Giga Texas. And as I continue to maneuver here at the north end of the outbound lot, this is what the number of Cybertrucks looks like. And all of the Model Ys, for the most part, that were here on Friday have been moved off-site as well. And I was mentioning that we would see 2 more long-range rear-wheel drive Cybertrucks. They were actually right here at the beginning of that entrance into the end of line as I did some photos. By the time I got back for the video, they had already moved inside. But we do see another brand new Model Y self-driving. It's over to this location, getting into lane number 2 and starting that process for the processing through the end of line facility and getting it ready for transport off site later today or later to the week. So I'm going to reposition back over the road and we'll resume the narration on the other side. Take this opportunity and fly along the berm here. You can see some of the gravel, some of the equipment, and all along this area is where they are doing that excavation that goes up to that northwest corner you see at the top of the screen, and this is going to extend all the way south to, I believe, where that smaller caisson was located that we flew over just a moment ago. And I think this is all part of both electrical conduit, but also for some treated water pipe. You can see on the ground that black pipe, that is what they are installing throughout the trenches on this entire berm. While I was here, I also wanted to take a look at this loading ramp area and also the walking path area that is covered up. They have those temporary yellow panels. Usually they'll put a texture coating and then paint it white so it matches in with the rest of the wall panels, and so that would indicate that it's temporary, but it's going to be there for a period of time. We do see a lot of employees arriving at this new main entrance checkpoint, and this is kind of a flavor for how that operation is as they arrive for work. In this section, we can tell more of the cans for the 4680s are being recycled in those 2 blue bins. Very recently on Monroe Live, they interviewed Bonnie Eggleston, who's the lead for Tesla of the 4680s, and he talked a lot about the recycling that is done with the materials, including those cans, so that's what we saw. Here's a close-in view of that ongoing work on the berm where they're installing these pipes. Looks like they have some blue wrap on them at this moment in time. And there's also some conduit going along this area as well, and some other trenching just to the north. So I just thought this was a great opportunity to show you the extent of this work that is starting at this part of the site all the way down to the south end. So we're going to see this for some time. Now, I did mention that I would show you some additional solar panels that are being prepared for installation on the roof, and here we see these stacks on this newly repaired part of the roof, just to the south of all those ventilation and cooling ducts that are part of the 4680 cell portion of the factory. And this is us looking back to the south. The very far end at the top of the screen is where we saw those solar panels on the south end being installed. So maybe they are going to continue that line underneath all of the letters all the way up to this point. They've also cleared out this section. We saw them doing the pressure washing last week, and this is what it looks like today. No real changes yet that I can tell, but it'll be something else we'll continue to monitor as time goes on. Now I'm going to reposition the drone back down lower altitude, sort of the north looking to the south along this area where they're doing the trenching. You can see the conduit at the bottom of the screen, and it's exiting over towards where that gravel mix is located, and then we see the other pipes heading down to the south. I also noticed that there was an extensive amount of castings and casting racks today all over the site, and an interesting discovery that I'll be showing you here momentarily, and we kind of discussed in the intro. First of all, most of these are all Cybertruck castings and the rack mounts, and you can tell by the Cybertruck RUB or FWB, the forward or the rear underbody, and those are marked on the casting racks themselves, and all of these are Cybertrucks also. I did notice these two vehicles, one with the kind of the cover moved off, and it appears that this may be some parts for another one of the Giga Presses. It's kind of hard to tell, but this is a nice shot looking down into the truck with those equipment items. Now, as I continue to around the site of the east side of casting and that melt plant, I decided I'm going to bring the drone down a little bit lower and try to maneuver carefully amongst this area to give you nice views inside. We do see some possible casting machine parts, the white with the gold at the bottom right, and either that or it's related to some other large equipment that is new inside the part of the casting machine section. But this is what caught my eye. In these castings here, these are much flatter and of a different design, it looks to me, than Model Ys or the Cybertrucks. In fact, as I showed you in the video intro, they have RTTX050, and that could very well be Robotaxi Texas, because the Cybertrucks are CT and the Model Y says Model Y. So that is definitely different. Here's a group of them on the ground. These are very flat and of a different overall shape and design than we have seen with the Model Ys. In fact, on the racks above them, those are Model Ys. So that gives you a pretty good comparison of how different they are. While I am also here with the low altitude, I wanted to show you what's going on with the baghouse filtration plant and some of those plastic covered possibly workshops. And then here's a great view of that furnace loading system and how it is all coming together. And as we pass back this direction, you see those large white and gold parts on the ground waiting for assembly. So I'm going to bring the drone up and we're going to position to take a look at what's going on in the mega packs, but I hope you enjoyed those views of the castings and the interesting new castings that are showing up here at Giga Texas now. Now, in my previous video, we saw crews doing a lot of the wiring, and we can tell that that work has been underway with all of the orange wiring on the bottom part between the megapacks and the transformers. Looks like about maybe a third of that work has been completed, although some of them have these metal covers over where that cable would be, so it's hard to tell for sure. Eventually we'll see cables going down that cable tray in the middle, and I expect to see some larger equipment installed on that platform on the north end. We do see some trench work. It looks like it may be for water management around that east side of the megapack. And as I pull away more, this gives you a really good overview of what the earthwork looks like on this part of the site. And there is, as some viewers have pointed out, plenty of room if they want to expand more of the megapacks. I don't know if that's the case, but as you can tell, there is a lot of room. Now, below the drone, we see the continued work to prepare this area to extend the size of the electrical switch yard. It looks like there are some at least temporary water management kind of trenches with drains, and that may be just to get ahead of the rainy season, which will be coming soon while construction continues. It's a nice view of that new water detention pond and the
drainage pipe that comes into it, and all of the various drains on the upper right that would feed into that to help with the rain runoff. We also see more of the work on this large structure. This is the Central Support Campus Facilities, but with the change with what we saw in the site plan and what I've been told as far as this being for Cortex 2, it'll be something we'll continue to monitor how this all comes together. But as I pull away a nice overall view and putting into context where that is located with the cathode plant, die shop, and the main factory, also this pond in the upper right, which is for drainage, and we can see the linear ponds and hills directly ahead, which is the remnants of the old sand and gravel mine. This is where we see them storing some dirt, also some of the old vegetation that has been cut down, and a lot of production equipment and some materials for manufacturing and or construction, all being stored in this part. And looking back at the factory, this gives you a great idea of how far away we are. And as we fly over these trees, which is more of the old sand and gravel mine, we get to the rental equipment lot and maintenance facilities. And this is what it looks like here today. Now, nearby there in the middle of the screen is where we see a lot of that earthwork, some of which was the dirt that was piled here being used to fix the grade over by the electrical switchyard and in that new Cortex 2 building. But also I would expect them to eventually flatten this area out and be prepared for future construction, one of which I've heard in this general area will be a test track. So that'll be something I'll continue to watch. A lot of the concrete for recycling is being stored in this area as well, some of it being broken up, and the south end, more of the items for the underground management system, water management system with the concrete vaults, steel corrugated pipes. We also see some of the blue water pipes, maybe some rebar, and again, more of the steel corrugated pipes stored here, all to connect that new construction site to this water filtration pond that you see at the bottom of the screen in the green. So I fly over the Wade pit. We get a nice view of that crash test facility. Does not look like there's a lot of action going on at the time that I flew, but this is a great view of what this operation looks like. And as I fly directly over the roof, I'll point the drone down, and we can see that that pit that has the water in it, this is used for quenching of batteries during testing in case there is a problem. It has had the water filled into it. On my previous video, it was empty. So obviously continued work going on with the crash test facility. As we fly over the field kitchen, I'll look back at the main factory, and we'll kind of pan around this east side to kind of get a good view of all this activity. As I've mentioned before, most of this items, the items that we see here, the trailers, the equipment, the fuel depot with the red tanks at the bottom, yeah, all of this is just temporary, and once it is moved off-site or no longer needed for construction, we could see this entire area being used for additional construction and facilities for Tesla. So that'll be something to keep watching over the long period of time. Now, as we get closer and to the battery cathode plant on the right and the die shop in the center, just kind of reposition the drone so we can get a better look at the construction site. But at the ground, we see more of the steel corrugated pipe for that underground water management system. All of this area in the middle with that kind of Y-shaped pavement, that was where they put in more of the underground water pipe to connect these two systems together. And then here at the main site, we pass over the perimeter fence that has been erected around the facility. And also we can see more of the temporary lighting put in so that they can work at dark parts of the hours throughout the clock, and we can see how the steel structure looks. It actually hasn't changed much since my video on Friday. They did finish putting all the beams on the roof segment, but I think because of the long weekend with Easter, they are just now resuming their work. I think the cranes are going to be used to maneuver more of the steel items into the next row, and they can start adding on to that structure. What we can tell is it appears, at least at this end, that is the one level, and the roof is pitched, so that looks like that may be it. On the right hand side of the screen, looks like there is roof decking material, so we may start seeing that being added onto the roof to finish it out. So that'll be more things that I'll be watching for, and by the time I get back from Florida, I think they're going to have a lot of this steel structure assembled. More of the items have been placed around where they're going to be needed at the footings, and as I pull away, we get a good view of some of the perimeter grade beam that is emerging on the sort of center left side of the screen. More forms being prepared to put around the rebar so they can pour the concrete. And rebar cages are being moved to get into where the excavations are for the new footings. On the ground, we also see more footings marked off with the orange paint, where we'll see additional excavation work soon. I wanted to show you this perimeter grade beam work that is underway. The workers give you an idea of the scale, and also just pointing out that this perimeter grade beam is at a higher altitude or level than the one on the top of the screen. And we can see that the steel items that are used for the structure take that into account. So again, it may be because of grade that is going to be somewhat sloped in this area for rainwater runoff and water management. But here's a nice view of that excavation work, the cage installation, the concrete, all preparing more footings for this large building. And then on this section is where they are assembling more of the rebar cages, trying to get ahead of the time that they will be needed once those excavations are completed. And again, there's a lot more of these footings that need to be completed on the north side before they can start doing the steel erection on that north side. But of course, they are working from the south to the north. As we get past the north end of the die shop, this is just a quick view of the chiller plant and how it looks on this early Monday. There's not much of the frost on the vaporizers near those white tanks, but as I pull away, we can get a kind of a sense of how things are shaping up on the right hand side of the screen, where it emerges into that new construction site, and just some of the trailers and other items that are stored on the ground on that dirt section next to the paved parking. So I'm going to bring the drone up to a higher altitude, and this will bring us to an end for the video today. I hope you enjoyed what we talked about in the intro, also seeing those new castings, and as always, thank you for watching. Hope you have a great week. I will see you next week. Take care.